Sarah. It is Saturday morning. It is earlier than I'm usually up, like 8:45, which on Saturdays isn't necessarily when I'm up. We got windows open and everybody's home, so if things get noisy, I may have to like stop this and then pick it up where I left off. Also, for some reason I didn't delete my other videos, so I have 27 minutes worth of recording right now, so that's probably gonna have to change. So yeah, the windows are open and the cats are a little squirrely and the birds are moving around, so if I seem to be looking out of the corner of my eye at something, it's probably that. I wanted to come up with my own writing tag and I was having a really hard time with it, so I asked my friend CJ, who has been in one of my other videos and will probably be in future videos, what kinds of things she would think to do, and she actually like came up with a whole tag for me. So I'm going to start this tag today. And yeah, it's 9 questions, so hopefully this will be a thing that other people might be interested in doing. I don't know who to tag still, because I never know who to tag, so I guess I tag anyone who does Authortube, I guess. So, okay, so this is a editing tag. I haven't named it as of right this minute, but I wanted to record while the teenager was still asleep, so the name will be below in the title. Question 1, what is your favorite thing about editing a manuscript? Seeing the little things fleshed out, seeing things match up that you didn't realize were going to match up, that kind of thing, that's definitely a really big deal. The cat is freaking out. So those are, the cat is cracking me up. So that's one of the things I like the most is the seeing the difference afterwards and seeing all of the things I've improved upon and how doing the editing process has improved the work itself. Number 2, what is your least favorite thing about editing a manuscript? Just being responsible for so many pieces of information at once. You have to juggle all these different things, and that's the hardest part is, you know, being able to make sure that your descriptions match your previous descriptions and that names match and that you don't, that you didn't miss something that you had already indicated and then later you indicate it's different. Those kinds of things are very difficult. And when you're in the writing process, sometimes you forget that you named something or things like that, or you gave it a location or more specific minutia to the story. So those are the things that are the most annoying to me is keeping track of those little things. I have in the past used a program called YWriter to keep track of those things while I was writing, and it works out really well if you can make yourself stop writing to put those things in. Otherwise you have to do it while you're editing, and it's always a lot of work. So that's the hardest part. Do you prefer to edit a novel or a short story, or why? And why? I probably prefer editing novels, partly because I get a little too tied up in editing with a short story. I've been known to like cut up paragraphs and sections and physically move them around on my desk, and that can be very overwhelming. I did that with Shattered, which is in Suggestion 376. I actually cut it into pieces and put it together and reread it like 4 different ways, and it's a lot. So I don't know that I prefer one over the other, but I feel like you can lend yourself to getting a little more in depth in a story, but that can also lend itself to you over examining it and just driving yourself nuts. So, how long does the editing process take you in general? What the fuck? Oh, I dripped tea on my manuscript. Isn't that sad? Anyway, so how long does it take you in general? Usually, I can get 20 to 30 pages a day when I work every day. The problem with that is that it's hard to work some days. This week has been really hard. My parents' dog, who, you know, she was 12 years old and I lived at their house for the majority of that 12 years. She had some sort of a stroke or something on Tuesday, and she got progressively more lethargic this week, and she was put down yesterday. So It's been a hard week, and so my progress this week isn't as unimpressive as it could be and as I would feel justified in telling you it was. But things like that will definitely derail your progress and make you unable to focus. So that's always a thing with editing. But realistically, I feel like 2 months for a novel usually is about how long it takes me to edit. Short stories I usually do in about a week. And that includes like putting in the edits and reviewing them and things like that. So what is the first thing you do in editing? I decide what kind of editing I need to do with the work. I usually use the first page at the top, all that extra space at the top above the title, to keep track of little things, first and last names of people who go by first names through most of the book, locations, little things that I might need later, you know, like to remember so-and-so's kid's sister who is mentioned 3 times in the whole book. To make sure that I have all of their facts lined up, I usually use the front of the page. Sometimes if I know there's a lot of things that don't necessarily agree in the story, I'll get out a notebook and I'll keep a notebook of each separate character, which I did do previously with boys, not this past edit, but the edit before. I carried a notebook and I kept all the facts about each character in them so that I could make sure that everything they did agreed with what they did, especially because it's a bunch of teenage boys and I need to make sure that they don't intertwine accidentally. So that's, yeah. What was the last thing you do in editing? Usually after I put the edits in the computer, I give it a day or two and then I do, you know, just a regular spelling grammar check. That usually ties things together pretty well. I like to make sure that I have a new copy of the manuscript printed before I'm ready to actually edit it so that it's there ready for me. That helps keep me on track and keep me from forgetting that I have more work to do. Why does editing matter to you? Because what comes out initially is not good. It's really, really important to me that I get things as clear and as useful to a reader as possible, and that just doesn't happen initially, especially not if you write like like during a nano or if you just don't plan ahead. Those things sometimes can be important to make sure are in agreement. You really don't want to have a character just fall out of your story and things like that. So it's important. It's like super important. It's probably the most important part of the process, but it's also one of the more difficult parts of the process. So as much as it's important, I don't particularly love it. I love the result, but I don't love the act of editing. Do you prefer editing to writing or vice versa? I would say I prefer writing. I feel like I get to discover more, things are different, and that's the more enjoyable part of the whole thing. But all in all, I do enjoy the outcome of editing more. I feel like when I come out of an edited story that things are so much better than they were before. So I like that more. Talk briefly about your editing process and why you choose to use the process you do. Really, it kind of depends on the work. When I open it up and I start to look, I see what things are the most drastic needs, and I try to address those first. And then I never edit anything just once, so I look at what are the most drastic needs, and then I kind of rank what's the most important, and then I replan and re-rank everything the next time I go through it. So there was a big break in there. I went to the grocery store and there was a puppy. My parents got a new puppy today, so the same breed as their dog that just passed. So they brought the puppy over and I had to cuddle the tiniest little puppy. Oh, he's so teeny tiny. But I had not gotten to my progress for the week, so I wanted to make sure I got that done. I'm on page 162. Which is just 2 pages from where I wanted to be, so I feel like all things considered, I'm happy with that. I can easily get those done, just sit down and look at them. So I'm hoping to get to The end of the next chapter, it looks like, is actually page 210, which is almost 50 pages. I don't know if I'll be able to get that done this week or not. I will try, but I don't know if I'll get it done this week or not. So we will see how that goes. So yeah, I think that does it for this week. I will put all of my usual links in the description below. Follow me on Twitter, Snapchat, and Instagram at WordsmithSarah. My Goodreads will be down below as well, and my Patreon, which is up and running as well. So if you'd like to see any of those, please go click the links below. As always, please like and subscribe, and I will see you next week. Bye!
Where should I take care of giant chickens? My God, it's too big! Oh!